Well, let's get on with the second lesson looking at solving. This time we're going to consider what happens when we have letters on both sides of the equal sign. Here's an example of an equation, and the only thing that's different to the ones we've looked at before is we've got a 6x on one side, on the left hand side of the equal sign, and a 2x on the right hand side of the equal sign. The first step that we have to do here is to, as it says, identify and cancel out the least amount of the letter. You can do it by cancelling either amount of the letter out, but if we start with the least, I often think it makes the maths easier when we get to the more difficult questions. All the way through this, we're trying to build up good habits, so when we get to the harder work, we know what to do and we just follow the same routine. It also helps develop a better understanding. So we're going to have a look at two examples. Here's the first. I'll use that one that I had before. 6x plus 4 equals 2x plus 24. First thing we do, identify the least amount of our letter. Here that's going to be 2x. That's clearly less than 6x. So how do we cancel that out? Now, we're not splitting it up, so it's not going to be a divide. We're trying to cancel out the entire chunk. And the way we do that is we subtract 2x from both sides. If you think about your collecting like terms, if I've got 2x minus 2x, it makes 0. And that's what we want to achieve. So, we minus 2x from each side. That leaves us with 4x plus 4 on one side and 24 on the other. If you notice, same as before, I've lined up my equal signs, I've kept my x's lined up, so now that an x is gone, we have a nice blank space to show that we've removed something. Follow the process through. As before, which bit do we need to cancel next? Is the plus 4. To cancel out a plus 4, do the opposite to both sides, minus 4 and minus 4. That will leave us with 4x on the left hand side and 20 on the right hand side. Finally, to get the x on its own, as we've said in the first part, we want letter equals. We need to divide by this 4. So do the opposite to both sides, divide by 4, leaving us with x equals 5. It's exactly the same steps as we did for the previous questions, the same routines, identifying something that we need to cancel out and doing the opposite to both sides. I suggest you pause this now to get this example copied down so you have as much time as you need. Now for our second example. Here we have 14 minus 3x on the left hand side of the equal sign and 2x minus 6 on the right hand side of the equal sign. We're going to follow the same process. First thing we need to identify is the least amount of our letter. We have minus 3x on one side and 2x on the other. This is where you have to think a little bit because minus 3x is less than 2x. So what we're going to do is think, how do I cancel out a minus 3x? And the answer to that is to add 3x to both sides, doing the opposite to both sides again. That will leave us with 14 on the left hand side and 5x minus 6 on the right hand side. The plus 3x adds on to the 2x. It doesn't affect the 6. Again, thinking about your like terms, there are no x's on the 6, so adding a 3x has no effect. This is why we like to do, or we need to do, the adding and subtracting first, so it sorts out the letters onto one side and the numbers onto the other. Our next issue is this minus 6. If we notice we've got our x's on the right hand side this time, that's not a problem, but we need to cancel out this minus 6 by adding 6 to both sides. Working through, that's going to leave us with 20 equals 5x. Now we look at that. The 5 is the issue. This is what needs to be cancelled out. The opposite of timesing by 5 is divide by 5. So we're going to divide both sides by 5. 20 divided by 5 will give us 4. 5x divided by 5 gives us x. It's not a problem that it's written the other way around. Our answer is still that x is equal to 4. It's often good practice, especially in an exam on the answer line. We write that the other way around as x equals 4. If you want to copy this example as well, pause it, get it copied down. That's it. So I hope you saw from that the actual process we go through is no different. We just have to remember what to cancel first, and obviously this time there are 3 steps, but each of those steps is the same as we were doing on the last section. So have a go at section B of that sheet, remembering to do at least one question from each line.